ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the European Masters. We've done the old switcheroos. We're getting on to the latter half of the day. My name is Hecarim, and I'm joined by the ever-beautiful Orcs. How's it going, mate? You all right?
I'm good. I thought we had a little bit more time, but the game was pretty quick. All things considered, Misfits Premier have come in week 2, and they look absolutely on fire.
That game honestly really caught me off guard. We, like you said, thought we had a little bit more time to get ourselves ready for these games, but no, Dancing Rift-tailed, 17 minutes and the Nexus explodes. Beautiful stuff there. And, you know, Misfits now in a very, very solid position here over in Group B.
They've locked first.
They've got first. That is guaranteed. It's still not guaranteed who's got second, though. If we bring up the standings, we can have a little look at where we're at right now. So, Misfits 4 and 1 locked into first. And then it is a Go Rogue and SuppUp, who are just below them, and then G2 Arctic. The key thing is, G2 Arctic still technically aren't out of the running for playoffs. They just need to have a bloody good game, have some good games for other teams who they want to win, and then hope for tiebreaker scenarios.
Yeah, so basically the situation here is that G2 Arctic have to win every single game. One of those is against Misfits Premier, who've been absolutely on fire. So they are in a rough spot, but as of now, all 3 teams can contest second. There is a possibility they can make it. There's a lot of tiebreaker scenarios. There isn't a possibility of a 3-way tiebreaker. It can only be a 2-way, but each team is still fighting as of now, and we'll update you as the day goes on and as the matches go through, whether teams have been knocked out, but obviously, it's still very much a big fight for that last spot.
We were in for a very potentially, I wouldn't say boring, but less high stakes end of the day. But thanks to the win at the beginning of the day from G2 Arctic, it's really shifted things up. And this next game, SuppUp versus a Go Rogue. If you're a G2 Arctic fan, you're going to be cheering for SuppUp, and you're going to be cheering for the mid lane of twohoyrz, who I did have a fantastic start to week number 1. You can see him compared to Chres here. Both have really good kill participation, 69, that's nice. Good CS per minute. And the KDA for twohoyrz, 11.3. This was week 1. Yeah. Got pretty heavily ruined in that last game when he went 0-3-0 on Lucian.
Got to heavily emphasize that week 1, Jake, because it is definitely not still holding up as 11.3 as of that last game.
Unfortunately not. But, you know, twohoyrz, even in the loss last week, when he was playing on that Syndra, had a really, really impactful game for his team. In the first 2 games of the European Masters, he only died once. twohoyrz has honestly played some seriously good League of Legends, and today has not been a great day for the Balkan teams, for the Balkan team, but let's see if they can turn it around, because this is their last chance saloon to find a win here, as we're in to pick some bans. We're starting off with the Kai'Sa and the Seraphine ban.
Yeah, so SuppUp, absolute must win. If they lose this, they are out. There's no other way they can spin it. A Go Rogue still have second chances, but it's a very important win to get on the cards regardless.
Alrighty, well, let's see what the final ban, well, not final ban, the next ban's going to be from SuppUp, as teams are taking their time thinking it through.
Yeah, still a lot of power picks that we've seen. Things like the Hecarim often banned away early. Silas actually going to get taken out and denied away. Interesting to see. Did see the Nocturne banned by a Go Rogue last time we had this matchup, and they are going to return to that one, not wanting to potentially deal with that threat. SuppUp, a team who actually would look to play the Nocturne in the jungle, and we saw that earlier in the tournament.
Well, final bans coming through. The Udyr, the Hecarim are still open. Curious to see whether or not they just try and take those out of the pool and kind of trim it down. It looks like the Tristana, been a pretty consistent ban here so far. The European Masters is going to get denied. And final ban over to a Go Rogue. At this point, it feels like you're probably, if you're going to ban one of the Udyrs or the Hecarim, it will be that Hecarim, or you just leave both open and handshake them off.
Yeah, it could be a strategy. We've seen something that Misfits Premier did is that they let the Hecarim go through, and then they picked the Udyr as something that can answer it. If you have that earlier pressure, you can just get a massive level advantage, massive gold lead. So they have given over that Hecarim, and a Go Rogue do have the option just to answer. For now, they're going to pick the Varus, something that achieves priority very effectively. So if you're playing for that early pressure, you're playing that Udyr matchup, this is already a good start for a Go Rogue. And when I look at SuppUp, you need to be able to contest. Mid priority is absolutely vital here. So I'm wondering what they're going to bring out that's going to be able to secure that, because if they lose mid priority, if they lose bot priority, the game is essentially just going to be doomed.
Wonder if SuppUp opt in for something like an Orianna here to kind of go up with that Hecarim and just sacrifice not picking a full bot lane, or if they decide to opt into a full bot lane. It is going to be the Orianna for twohoyrz. it combos up really nice with the Hecarim. You jump in, you layer that shockwave on top, and it's a pretty rough team fight scenario. So maybe they find themselves like a good team fighting support or an AD carry that can keep itself safe. We've seen Xayah rear its head a little bit during the European Masters, not as much as I kind of expected to, as teams are now starting to turn towards this Varus a lot more, but looks like they're just layering in for that hard engage. SuppUp just going all in on the fighting right now, as they are going to pick themselves the Alistar.
Yeah, I'm not too sure on this. I respect the Alistar's really strong with the Orianna. It gives you great team fighting tools, but the problem I'm seeing here is it gives Rogue counter pick in the support role. They've already got a really strong prio AD carry, and they're going to have counter pick mid lane. Obviously, Orianna is a champion who typically can take priority in mid, but if Rogue do find a good matchup there, you could see Rogue having prio mid bot. They have an Udyr and Hecarim. It's basically game over. So SuppUp still got a strong composition here, but they need to be really careful with these next two picks and what they're going to start banning here.
I wonder if we'll just see I expect to see some mid lane bans coming out from SuppUp. Probably things like the Syndra, the Victor champions that we have seen kind of typically show its face into this Orianna. It's going to be the Jinx ban away from Rogue. Again, kind of that other high priority AD carry along with that Kai'Sa, Varus, and Jinx have kind of been the big three so far during the European Masters. And SuppUp definitely taking their time here with these bans. Obviously, the Akali has reared its head a little bit more recently as well, so that's something they always have to keep in mind. But the Syndra, understandable ban, is something that we have seen, but is able to kind of contest Orianna on those waves.
Yeah, I think it makes complete sense. You don't want to be letting them have priority here. The Ezreal, I'm actually not so sure about for the side of a Go Rogue to ban that one away. It's not really going to have much priority in the bot side. I guess maybe concern is that if you don't get a favorable mid matchup in the situation, the Hecarim could just play the top side, and then bot essentially is okay to play defensive. Victor again makes a lot of sense as his second ban, but we'll see if SuppUp want to go in a different direction. There's still top lane to worry about that we haven't really touched on. A Go Rogue, you could just take your mid laner here, and then you can leave top lane for counter picks, so in a pretty solid position. But maybe if they do want to prioritize something like the GP or the Gnar, they can take that now.
I feel like if you do take like a GP or an Gnar now, SuppUp could just opt in for like an Ornn and just play it super safe in the top lane. That adds to that team fighting capability they've already started to draft towards here. The Akali gets picked up, most likely going to be a mid lane. That's where we've seen it most of the time, bar one lane swap. So pretty standard pickup there, as with the Syndra and the Victor taken away. It's kind of the next kind of best quote unquote mid. Obviously not as good in the laning phase, but as you kind of move post 6 and into mid/late game, will be a real threat to the immobile mid laner. That is going to be the Orianna. Now SuppUp looking to pick up a top laner and an AD carry for themselves. I actually really like the Gangplank. It's fine for weak side. It can also play pretty aggressively if they do lean towards it. It's going to offer great team fighting tools and also good scaling options over to the side of SuppUp.
Yeah, absolutely will. And again, it allows you to sort of mitigate some of the pressure with that Gangplank ultimate, hopefully slow down a Go Rogue in the early mid game. SuppUp have Sivir as a potential option. We saw that emerging in the previous games today. Pretty high priority. It gives tons of team fighting, and it has a lot of wave pushing power. You're still going to struggle a little bit in terms of priority in that level 1, simply because Alistar doesn't really offer much in comparison to Tahm Kench, but you should be able to mitigate that later on. Right now, SuppUp have great scaling, great team composition for team fighting, and when it comes down to that, they should be really strong. The concern is a Go Rogue. They're going to have pressure in the bot lane early. In the mid lane, Orianna can hold her own. It really depends on Chres to find that advantage, but it's all about Lurox. If Lurox can find an advantage in the early game, if you can start getting the momentum going, Rogue can run away with this game. If they don't, however, the late game is going to be problematic.
Yeah, it does feel like Lurox has a lot of weight on his shoulders right now, because SuppUp have kind of honestly put together a pretty typical kind of front-to-back team fighting comp here. They got lots of tools to work with, like you said, a serious amount of wave clear when you kind of account in the Sivir, the Orianna, and the Gangplank. So the only way really to find openings into SuppUp if this game goes later, if your Rogue is via Baron, and Baron pit with a Hecarim, Gangplank, and an Orianna is really, really scary. So Lurox needs to snowball this game to the point where it's not even. The Baron needs to get threatened, because I think if these two teams are even, SuppUp have the tools just from their comp alone to be able to take this game. So it's not a bad comp by Go Rogue by any means, as much as it might sound like I'm dumping on them a little bit. It's just they need to make sure they execute in this game and don't just sit back on their laurels, because it will get really rough if you move late. But we're on to the Rift. for our fourth game of the day. This is SuppUp versus a Go Rogue, the Balkans versus the Ultra Liga from Poland.
And I think for me, this is a sort of composition that if I saw Misfits Premier playing, I'd be like, this is textbook, this is exactly what they want to do. I'm really confident in their early pressure, and as we saw from the last game, they know how to execute on early game win conditions. I'm not as convinced for a Go Rogue yet, so this will be a good test for them. Again, if they lose this game, they still have opportunities to make it into that top 2, but the pressure will be relieved significantly if they can get this one in the bag. So have to see how it does play out. Early game is the key, and it's all on Lurox, all on watching what he can do in the jungle. Ideally, want to see him contesting the Scuttle Crabs. Looks like he may well be starting top side, so expect him to be pathing down towards bot. He will be having priority in the bot lane, so that should help out just in terms of securing that one.
This is something we have seen a lot as well from the Udyr. The Udyr early does outpace the Hecarim, so this is why this matchup is picked into there, but as it gets later, the Hecarim kind of offers a little bit more with his team fighting utility.
It's all about momentum. It's about getting that early lead so that you can use that lead to get some more items, get faster clear. You keep going and going, and it starts to snowball. And you see scenarios where the Udyr's 3 levels up, and the Hecarim's just struggling to find relevance, and then you can apply that pressure into your lanes, of course.
It does look like Spooky actually switched down towards the red buff, so he's starting on the opposite side of the map from Lurox, which means Lurox realistically won't be contesting the first crab with him unless he wants to bolt over. It's both of the junglers just mirroring each other. There is a ward that was placed down by the chicken camp by a Go Rogue, so they will spot out Spooky when he moves over to that camp, so they will have the information where he is on the map. On the side of SuppUp, it's probably just a bit of guessing work. You kind of know where Udyr start.
Yeah, and I think the big reason for this from Spooky is that he's playing to his lanes at contestant priority. We can see bot right now, what's happening. You don't want to be contesting the bot side scuttle when, you know, the Sivir and the Alistar aren't even touching the wave at this point. There's not really too much you can do to assist in that regard. Whereas mid, twohoyrz comfortably got control of the lane, and klowny is shoving it in. So topside scuttle should be a pretty easy pickup for Spooky, and already that's just a nice start to the game if you're able to secure that one.
So Go Rogue, like you're saying, the bot lane is where they've got the prio, and FLICKR has been the person that a Go Rogue, especially in week 1, would play through. High kill participation, high damage percent. This guy had a really, really pop-off performance.
I mean, those numbers are just insane. The kill participation is really something, but damage as well. Very much just clutched it. There were moments in games where it felt like a Go Rogue might have let it slip and might be in a much more uncomfortable position right now, but FLICKR came through really clutch in those ones.
Really did, and already picking up a plate here, nice and early into SuppUp. This constant bot pressure is already starting to amount a fairly large CS deficit. But it looks like SuppUp are looking to make some action break out here on the top side of the map as klowny resets and the teleport comes in. The barrel reset for the passive is beautiful. First blood for Spooky. Chres teleports in way too late. That's going to be a wave denied from Sinmivak.
Yeah, really nice punish actually from Spooky. Saw a good window. He knows Udyr is on the other side of the map. They know that they're playing towards the bot side scuttle, so he gets that quick kill and then able to take the scuttle on the top side. All things considered, this is a really solid first play for the Hecarim, and Spooky has to be feeling good about it. He can now head down towards that bot side, start clearing upwards once again. And although bot lane is in a little bit of a tough spot, having lost that plate already, they're keeping relatively even in CS, so not too much of a concern. Although that said, VZZ is trying to get a recall here, will get it through, and should be back in time to catch most of this wave.
Looks like a Go Rogue actually swapping the Gnar into the mid lane for the moment. Chres is holding his own in the top side. And like you're saying, this is exactly what they needed. They needed to get this early start going, because if Lurox started to snowball the jungle matchup out of control, this game could have got really, really rough for them, as he's looking to go for a cheeky invade, although the wolf camp he doesn't know is spawning up quite yet, although might have the rough idea, but he's going to take off as Spooky. Now on the bot side of the map, Lurox will be spotted out on the Raptor camp fairly soon, and there isn't actually vision spotting Spooky out, although I don't know if the minions spotted him.
Might have caught him. They're pretty pushed up. Yeah, they throw it on a ward. But again, Spooky doesn't lose too much from that, whereas Lurox invested quite a bit of time run over, although I think he is planning to return now. Already has that vision set up. Sinmivak is swapping up to the top side and Chres is coming back mid. I think initially that swap was just Chres at TP top. Didn't want to have to walk the way back to mid instantly, so Sinmivak picked up the wave. And now Lurox looking to contest this.
We saw this at the beginning of the day, actually, but this time it goes in the Hecarim's favor. Spooky will be able to scale Lurox out of his own jungle and pick up his camp.
Yeah, it feels really forced from Lurox, in all honesty. The first time he goes, there's no camps up and available, so he returns. And critically, that was when Chres was on a recall, so you don't have support from your laners. And that's why Lurox backed away. He knows he's going to end up in an unfavorable fight, but you've just wasted such a large amount of time. Spooky's already gone for his entire second clear, and you're still doing your red side. We said we're looking at the Udyr to find momentum in the game and use his faster clear speed to find an advantage. He's actually slipping behind slightly, which really isn't how you want that early game to go.
It's coming at the cost of, at the moment, the bot lane not really having too much, but at the same time, you did expect to lose this lane if you're SuppUp. Maybe not lose the lane, but not win the lane is really the best way to go. A second place finish in the bot lane. As twohoyrz and Lurox will find each other. But Lurox comes in with the bear stance as there are people about. Spooky actually just jumping in onto LFLKR. LFLKR has to flash away in 2hours inside the dragon pit, trying to get the recall off as the cannon barrage has come down, and Chres has found 2hours as the dragon is just going to do a whole bunch of work for 2hours. But now 2hours can get out as Spooky comes in to save the day. The crab is going to get picked up, and SuppUp walk away with their second kill and a started dragon.
Yeah, they can just pick this up. No way a contest comes out. Rogue's bot lane kind of dropping the ball there a little bit. You can see Pyrka wanted to move up to assist with the play onto the Orianna, but you should have expected. If 2hours is walking down bot, it's clearly because there's going to be support. FLICKR was left isolated without the Tahm Kench nearby and able to get picked up. Really solid play coming out from SuppUp. And considering they've had a really rough day so far, this is a bit more similar to their week 1 performance.
Yeah, 2 losses so far today. This win here, if they can find it, is super important as we have a look once again at this bot lane play.
Yeah, so Spooky actually got a pretty sneaky path to get in behind here. They felt safe with that ward and the tri-brush, and then because of that, they end up separated. LFLKR burns a lot to get away. The cannon barrage coming in clutch there to finish him off. And once the bot lane had been dealt with, 2hours doesn't even need to flash over the wall, and it is able just to walk away safely. And as you said, dragon advantage and just a 1,000 gold lead, but again, a Go Rogue are the ones who want to be pulling ahead in this matchup.
Especially early.
Yeah.
But from the moment, it is a 1,000 gold lead over to the side of SuppUp. Could have a look at the individual gold. That's where I'd like to see where this gold has actually been spread out across the team. Even though there was a bit of a CS deficit building in the bot lane, is a slight 100 gold lead over the VZZ, so he's not going to sneer at that one. It's jungle where the main lead is. 500 up for Spooky versus Lurox.
And you know, everyone says jungle is a broken role. If you're able to maintain that gold lead, and that's the thing, is you can spread it around the map. As a jungler, you can move around, you can apply that pressure, and that's what we're looking for Spooky to do. Right now, he is on the Herald, and the Go Rogue are toying with the idea of a contest.
Well, Lurox has to actually use his flash to get away. Spooky will pick up the Rift Herald. Bear Slap's going to try and come in, but he does pick up the Herald in the time. Charges over the wall, and Mersa gets a massive knock-up as VZZ zoned away by Chres. Mersa will lose his life here for the good of the team. The barrels will not do enough from klowny, and that'll be the first kill for a Go Rogue of the game.
Yeah, good punish coming out from a Go Rogue. Honestly, I feel like if klowny hadn't TP'd in, that probably would have been fine for SuppUp. You'll take a kill for the Herald. But unfortunately, this does mean that klowny's missing out on some farm bot side. So overall, it depends on how well they use the Herald whenever you do take one. But I think a Go Rogue can be happy with that contest.
It's really down to how they use this Rift Herald.
Yeah.
If they don't use it effectively, then it might not be so worth it.
If they
to
just
see
get
where
2 plates,
and when they're going to use it.
If they just get 2 plates, it probably isn't going to be worth it. If they get a whole tower, then I still think SuppUp are happy with picking up the Herald. But let's see how a Go Rogue respond to this now with Spooky having the Herald. And Pocket have to be aware of wherever he shows up. Right now, it's still pretty healthy towers across the board, so likely wants to stack a wave up if they're able to apply pressure there. We do have 2 minutes on the Ocean Dragon, so could potentially just throw it down mid, force a Go Rogue to respond to it, and then you can use that priority to rotate into the dragon. We do have teleports coming up from Sinmivak and Chres though, so although klowny can obviously impact initially with that cannon barrage, he just have to make his way down if he wants to be there for that dragon fight.
2hoyrz gets a interrupt on his base, and actually means he is going to have to hang around in mid for a little bit longer. Does have the blue buff though, so mana's not really an issue. Just wants to make sure that the gold is spent before any potential dragon contest comes out. And there is a battle for vision over this river. You can see at the moment lit up red for a Go Rogue as Chres now potentially getting caught out as the shockwave clips just a couple of minions.
You know,
Chres able to survive that one. That is suboptimal use, let's say.
You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. That's
True.
all I'm going to say. If that connected, could have been a big deal. That could have been that window to throw down the Herald mid and potentially threaten the tower. It doesn't, but fortunately, Orianna Shockwave on a pretty short cooldown, especially with that blue buff, reducing it even more. So it will be back up in time for that dragon. And you have seen they were really looking to contest the vision, but a Go Rogue have managed to maintain it in the river for now. It's getting pretty close to it spawning, so I could expect to see teams starting to make a move now to try and get control.
Well, Wave is getting denied here from VZZ, or at least a few minions are. Is able to make his way into the lane. The resets have come down, and 2hoyrz has finished up his lost chapter. And Essence Reaver has already been finished up onto klowny. Excellent help to those 2 assists from the help of his cannon barrage. 30 seconds until the dragon spawns, and like you said, a Go Rogue have been able to hold their priority in the river with the vision, but speaking of priority, they can just slap this Rift Tail down, quickly clear through the wave thanks to the Orianna. Throw out the Herald. That is going to force members away as Lurox actually gets himself caught out as everything's just being thrown onto him. He is going to go down here. Mersa's the one to cash in on the kill. And Rift Tail not even needed to secure this dragon. It was just a pick.
Beautiful play, honestly, coming out from Mersa there. Roams up. They already have the route in the jungle covered by those control wards. And Lurox just a little bit over-aggressive, wanting to help defend against the Herald, but ended up exposed himself. And that punish means that potentially they're going to be able to use the Herald in the bot lane, look to threaten some plates here, but should definitely be able to secure this dragon.
Yeah, it's helping shove in the wave as well. Mid lane was shoved in by 2hoyrz. Everybody on a Go Rogue is answering their waves right now, so there will be no contest on the second dragon. SuppUp bouncing back after their first 2 games, especially a very devastating 17-minute loss in the 3rd game of the day. They're coming out strong here in game number 4. Remember, this is the Group B bonanza today. After this, we will be done with this group, at least in the group stages. But Chres is jumping in, looking for a kill, but everything's getting layered onto him. The shockwave not going to get fired off yet. They want to see exactly where he is, and he is now caught out by 2hoyrz, and the flash is burnt for the shockwave from 2hoyrz.
Yeah, and they chunk mid tower out, so pretty vulnerable. If they do pick up the second Herald, they can very easily take that one. Sets them up quite easily to apply pressure to the side lanes. Ultimately, I think SuppUp have had a really strong early game here. We said when we're coming out the draft, a Go Rogue need to be the ones having the early momentum. They haven't found it. They're down in gold, and though it's not significant, those 2 dragons make a big difference. Often, if you're playing the early game composition, you want to be stacking those dragons early, so you force the scaling comp to contest you. Right now, SuppUp, if they want to, they can just start giving up dragons. If they don't feel comfortable, if they're concerned about a Go Rogue's composition, if they're like, we want to scale a little bit, they are very comfortable to do so, having those 2 dragons in pocket.
Well, it looks like for now, we've had a bit of a bit more of a calmer moment after the dragon's gone down, and a little bit of action. Obviously, both of these teams recognizing that it's important, this win. If a Go Rogue win, 3/4 of the remaining scenarios, they secure second place in the group. If SuppUp win, there's a lot of tiebreakers for second place. In fact, 3/4 of those scenarios as well give us a tiebreaker game later.
A lot of potential for it. I think the critical thing is, you know, a Go Rogue, again, they don't have to win this one. It definitely helps. But SuppUp, this is our last game, and it's been a rough day. We've already said it has been a really bit of a poor performance. But I just want to bring people back to that week 1 where they went 2-1, managed to have such a strong performance against some of these stronger teams in the group. Oh, but we've seen Engage.
Yeah, the cannon barrage has been used to teleports in. They're going to get a gobble on the Varus, but he has nowhere to go as 2hoyrz going to buff that KDA back up again with a kill. And Pyrka will go down. VZZ gets the second one. It's just a 2 for 3
Really nice execution, utilizing the cannon barrage effectively. Going to be able to find a couple of kills and then also put some damage in the bot lane tower. SuppUp are playing this one beautifully. And again, this is the sort of play that we saw them have against Misfits Premier, the only team to take that lineup down so far.
Oh, they're going hard on the Chres. Gets himself inside the shroud just before.
Nearly knocked him out, but wasn't quite enough. Chres will survive. It's very low on HP. But looks like SuppUp aren't really going to push more into this tower. And this is just beautiful setup. The deep ward already in place. And they know that the cannon barrage, the slow means they're not really going to be able to find a way in. Mersa makes a great decision. CCing the Tahm Kench allows them to get a ton of damage in a Looker. And then by that point, it doesn't matter if Looker comes out again. Pyrka cannot make the distance to the tower. And they're both just going down. Really solid play coming out. And SuppUp being proactive in this early game. As much as that competition has a lot of scaling aspects, they're not sitting back. They're not going, okay, let's just wait until 30 minutes and then we can start playing. They are being proactive now, and it's making a Go Rogue look really rough.
Well, 16 minutes into the game, so it's definitely going better for SuppUp, because I don't think in the next minute the game is going to end. So an improvement on the last game. But this next dragon spawning up in a 1 minute, 12 seconds time. The Mountain Soul, obviously, it's going to make the tanky Hecarim even harder to deal with and just kind of buffing the stats for VZZ and stuff. Be a lovely addition for SuppUp as Chres actually sliding in. He's already popped that perfect execution. VZZ's trying to buy a little bit of space. Cannon Barrage is not up at the moment, and 4 members of a Go Rogue are hanging out here on this bottom side of the map as Lurox is coming in with a bear slap. The tongue lash goes a little bit wide as they pop him back as Chres looks to jump forward. That's going to be the ulti by VZZ just to speed up the rest of the team. And with everything going on, first tower blood was picked up by SuppUp, but Rogue answer out very quickly with one in the bot lane.
Yeah, and I mean, it's a good play from a Go Rogue. Again, you're down in gold to find that tower. You need to be doing something, but SuppUp take 2 in return and get that first tower bonus. So they're entirely comfortable with that one. Not too concerned about making the trade. Things are starting to slip out of control. I want to give a lot of credit, though, to Mersa in this game. I think him on the Alistar, you saw it there in that play, disengaging Chres really effectively. And he was the one who managed to pick out Lurox leading to that second dragon. He's been absolutely stellar so far, especially in a lane matchup that isn't very fun to play because they have just been kind of shoved in tower for almost the entirety of the laning phase.
VZZ's now been put on the mid lane duty, finished up that Gale Force, so extra movement speed is always nice, but got that extra dash as well. The dragon is on the map, and a Go Rogue looking to try and contest as Spooky inside the pit, Chres on a flank. There's a Gangplank about as well, that cannon barrage ready to fire, and they're actually just turning onto the Akali, although the shuriken flip has landed and the fight looks to be breaking out already. VZZ has to jump away. Chres is very, very low. The shockwave is beautiful. 4 members caught out. The cannon barrage is just ripping for a Go Rogue, and members are dropping left, right, and center. Spooky gets himself a double kill. Another one has answered out, and down goes the Akali. VZZ is picked up on the tail end, but it's an ace.
I was honestly a little bit concerned for SuppUp there, funneling into the Baron pit against a composition like a Go Rogue, against the Gnar, against the Chains of Corruption for the Varus. Could have been a difficult spot to fight your way out of, but they managed to move, and then critically, twohoyrz finds that beautiful shockwave, which essentially just instantly guarantees the team fight win. 3rd dragon secured, 4th available in 5 minutes, and they are now 6,000 gold ahead with the scaling advantage. This is the SuppUp we saw in week 1.
Bouncing back, and they needed it to happen here.
Imagine having that game against Misfits, which was, I mean, you just want to delete it from your memory, but being able to come back, and again, it looked a bit precarious. They do find the engagement VZZ. Mersa doing some beautiful peel, but this shockwave that comes out, Flash does come through only from Pyrka to avoid it, but the rest get caught, and at that point, the fight is just over and done. Nothing really you can do to turn it around. Sinmivak does try and gets an exit kill, as does Chres. Again, these two players trying to find these exit kills, but you got to bear in mind, if they didn't find those, that would have just been a clean ace. This was just complete domination from SuppUp, but now, with the gold disadvantage we're seeing, with the item disadvantage as well, things are looking really rough.
It's not looking great, and I just want to know, what was the conversation? What was the mood like after 2 losses and one was so dominant?
Well,
I guess in a way
can't be that bad.
I guess in a way, like a 17-minute loss is actually better than like a really long drawn out loss, because you know your next game, at least you're kind of like, you haven't got completely to like, you know, exhausted from getting off in one of those kind of slogs. When you're just getting destroyed and the game's over in 17 minutes, it's like, all right, let's just put that aside. We got to win the next one. klowny, a little bit too pushed up, hasn't really got anybody about at the moment, and way too slow on the barrel chain as he does throw out the cannon barrage, keep himself alive, and Spooky's actually just zooming forward with a charge, looking to turn it around. The shockwave lands onto Lurox, and he's taken out by the barrel. Chres, nowhere to go. Shuriken flipped and gobbled by the catfish.
Yeah, very quick response coming out from SuppUp, not leaving klowny alone. Rogue trying to respond with some pressure in this mid lane tower, but I don't think he can stay there for long. As I'm saying that, I think if the cause is going to be Baron from SuppUp, yeah, why not? Jungler down, no real concern of this one being stolen. The only concern actually, as I say that, is Lucker with a piercing arrow. But it looks like they're actually opting in for the fight. TP coming in from Chres.
Sinmivak is not even close to narring out. He's still in that exhausted phase. Here comes the arrow. It's not going to be the steal, but the shutdown's there. The dragon's secured anyways. The chains of corruption on. Chres has to go golden. Breaker in the middle of the fight, and everybody on SuppUp is so low. Lucker just fired away. The arrow could be big. He gets the shutdown onto VZZ. Everyone's health bars are just painfully low. Here's the barrel by klowny. It's not going to hit, and Spooky just zooms out of there as Sinmivak knars out. Woo!
Spooky, leave the blue. It's not worth it. Give it up. You got the Baron. You got 3. Only 2 died. You're fine with that situation. The reason this goes bad is there's a perfect flank scenario for Chres. 2hours has nowhere to go comfortably. They're getting hit by the Baron. He goes down quickly. And then there's Chains of Corruption, locking everyone into the pit. Really effective. Chres is buying time with stopwatch. And the carries are the ones in a difficult spot here. VZZ caught out. 2hours already dead. But despite that being a really rough fight for SuppUp, I still think this is fine for them. They only lose 2 members. They secure the Baron. They have it on 3. They still have a significant gold lead. This isn't too concerning for them as long as they can make use of that Baron. And critically, it's a minute and a half until the Dragon Soul. A Go Rogue need another fight like that, but they also need to be picking up the objective, because if they give over the Soul, things are going to be feeling super rough, especially as when you look at their composition, Akali and a poke Varus with the lethality build, if there's an extra shield on the enemy team, it's going to make their jobs so much harder.
Yeah, it is actually the worst kind of soul when you're playing this comp. I think also a good thing for SuppUp is klowny kept his Baron, which means he can threaten the side lanes with his Baron still on the top side of the map, and that's exactly where he's going. He's got teleport, he's got cannon barrage, he knows he can threaten top side constantly, and someone has to deal with the Gangplank in the top side. And Sinmivak does have teleport, but he's gonna have to teleport and potentially lose something on the map. It's a bit of a rough one right now.
SuppUp have pretty heavy control of this dragon area. You can actually look at the vision. There is a ward in the river that is giving a Go Rogue some information, but for the most part, SuppUp have a pretty deep vision line that's going to make approaching pretty difficult for a Go Rogue. Thank you, observers.
At the moment, a Go Rogue aren't even thinking about it. They are playing very far back in the lane. They're trying to contest this one pink ward, which is still a mile away from where they need it to be. Obviously, like you said, there is that one ward available. klowny has shoved out a top lane, and here is the ulti. As Mersa jumps in, the cannon barrage is going to land. Pyrka gets the gobble off as everybody's locked down. A 2-man shockwave does connect, and the barrel chain is beautiful. Sinmivak goes down. It's 2 kills for SuppUp. As here's the headbutt pulverized. That's going to be the kill onto Lucker. 3 members fall. Mersa survives through absolutely everything. Lurox not going to be able to find the kill, and here comes Chres as he slides in and slides straight back out of it.
Beautiful play coming out from SuppUp. They are confident with their engages, using the Sivir to get in. They get a few kills, and now they're able to pick up that Dragon Soul. Huge gold lead, 7,000 with the Soul as well. This is looking so in favor of them. Got to give credit to Mersa. His Alistar has been flawless. We were singing 2 hours praises consistently last week, but if they come together in this week and get out of groups, it's really down to Mersa.
It really is.
Again.
Just beautiful.
Yeah, he gets the knock up here. The shockwave really solid from 2 hours. Actually brings Pyrka in even with the flash. And at this point, I'm thinking, okay, you know, Mersa doesn't die here, has the ult, but he goes further. Knock up, knocks Lucker back, takes out the AD carry, and manages to survive off the back end. Really solid play. And I just love the confidence of this team. You just got absolutely smashed into the dirt in a 17-minute game, and you come into this one completely confident to look for these fights, taking the engages, challenging a Go Rogue in the early game, despite the fact that you're playing against their win condition, which was to have that priority bottom play around it. I think SuppUp have just really been a solid performer in this one. And again, this is their last hope. They win this, they keep their hopes alive of making a tiebreaker to get out of the group stage. And considering this team it's not the exact same roster, but they've kept many players. They went 0-6 last EU Masters in groups.
Yeah. This is the SuppUp we saw week 1. The last 2 games were the SuppUp we saw last year.
Absolutely. And they just need to keep it up. At this point, you have so many advantages. Should be pretty simple to close it out, but you're just concerned about potential flanks. There's double TP on the side of a Go Rogue, and we actually saw SuppUp doing a bit of this themselves, where they would go for these heavy flanks with the likes of the Akali and the Gnar. So that's the only thing you're potentially worrying about. Making sure you sweep any deep wards is a big priority, and obviously having the Mountain Soul in pocket does make things a bit trickier. But right now, Go Rogue are kind of in desperation mode to find a way back in this game. Baron is spawning in 50, so potentially that's the window. If you can find a good fight while SuppUp are corralled into the pit, that may be your comeback mechanic.
It's so hard, though. The GP now finished up the Infinity Edge, had that Essence Razor and Shield Bow on for a while, got a Medjay's onto 2hours. So that's confidence from 2hours, wanting to redeem the KDA. That had been high at the beginning of today and was significantly lower after that last game.
Yep, and simple trick, just don't die.
That is simple trick to improving your KDA. Experts hate him.
See both teams setting up, and actually looks like they're looking for 2 hours here, but Spooky's in the wings.
Yeah, trying to ruin that KDA as he gets the shockwave off into one. Spooky's trying to keep him alive. The cannon barrage is there, but Chres will take him down. Here's the barrels. Here's the turnaround. Look at the damage. Lurox loses so much health as Chres actually jumps into klowny's face.
You don't win that.
What are you doing, man? Chres has nowhere to go. One more parlay, and he will lose his life as the pulverized Unlucker is going to come in. They do get the Gnar back, but klowny untouched for the moment. Sinmivak can't do much as they do lose their AD carry, but you got klowny alive. And he's going to get himself the 1-par barrel off.
And honestly, they kill the Orianna, they kill the Sivir, but this Gangplank is so strong, and they don't have the damage to cut through the front line of the Alistar and the Hecarim as well. SuppUp are completely fine. Yeah, you took out carries. We have another carry. We have this strong front line you can't deal with. And they end up still winning the teamfight overall. Lurox is potentially looking for a steal. You have no flash. Blast Cone isn't there. There's no chance you getting that one. And again, Orianna is TPing back in. This is just going to be Baron for SuppUp.
Yeah, it's going to be so hard for them to get anywhere near this. And this Baron, a little bit better as VTZ respawns in time. So all 5 members have it. They've got Soul. They've got Baron. And realistically, they've got this game. It's going to be down to a massive misplay.
And I think this is actually the right call from a Go Rogue. VZZ is nowhere near. And this play actually works pretty successfully initially. They managed to take out the Orianna. The problem is the response still comes in. I think this is where the mistake is. They start chasing Spooky. You should take the kill, back away. Crash just goes in too far. klowny still has that shield bow available and just isn't an easy target to deal with. And it baits the rest of the team into the play. If they took that kill and they managed to pull back and then control the Baron area, they would have been fine. So just overzealous from Chres. And again, ultimate now burnt as they're pushing up. SuppUp looking to start taking some structures.
Now, we got a pretty big wave to do this with as well. GP plus Sivir will melt through these towers. It's kind of just going to reset the trial by fire. Get a little bit extra burn onto this tower. So that's the shockwave actually thrown up by 2hours on the side of the map as Lurox will lose his life to VCZ thanks to the ricochet. And the inhibitor should go down. Sinmivak nowhere near the Gnar as the arrows just are barely hurting thanks to this Mountain Soul. Pyrka, though, on the other hand, he's going to take a lot of health. He actually has to flash away. The Chains of Corruption go a little bit wide. And SuppUp not willing to give up on the siege yet. They've taken out one of the Nexus towers. Chres does land the Shuriken flip onto Mersa. Mersa has to be quite careful. If he follows that through, he's in trouble. The arrows are starting to hurt, and Sinmivak Gnars out and just pokes him away. As Spooky jumps forward and then jumps out. The arrow's actually going to land, and the Baron will zone Sinmivak from coming in forward. But Chres also on the flank. They force SuppUp out of their base. And Chres looks to continue to chase here. He's got himself the perfect execution. And he hasn't been spotted out on the wards, but they must know he's still chasing. And now Chres is the one who might be caught out a little bit. Trying to jump towards that blast cone in time. Can he make it? No, he can't. He's into the red buff. Pops the perfect execution, but Chres is on the wrong side of the map. Is going to ping back one more time with a shuriken flip as klowny comes in, and that is a fat barrel.
A lot of damage.
Do start up the Baron, but Chres actually able to survive because the Baron's coming in and the charge is there. The cannon barrage has been let down. The shockwave clips onto 2. That's a dead Varus. That's a dead Udyr. Sinmivak gonna jump the wall, but Spooky is just sped up by the On the Hunt.
Elder going to be finished.
And Sinmivak slowly but surely going to get run down by Spooky.
TP coming in from Chres.
Maybe. You say good luck. He's got the 2 carries alone. Jumps into 2 out. The stopwatch is there. Bye-bye, Chres. You're going to burn out. Ace once again to SuppUp.
Not sure about that, TP. I think the initial player go rogue were like, we have to take this fight. It's our only window. We have to stop them getting Elder. And they just end up getting absolutely wiped off the map. The shockwave from twohoyrz was massive. And with that, SuppUp are going to secure the win and guarantee at least a tiebreaker for second off the back of this. They are still in the tournament. They are still playing for a quarterfinal spot, even with a little bit of a rough start to this week 2.
It was definitely a rougher start for SuppUp, but they did make it count when it needed to, as they find themselves their first win of the day in the Group B Bonanza, and keep, like you said, their chances of making playoffs alive, thanks to a phenomenal play by Mersa on the Alistar. But I think everyone kind of went into that game on complete fire. Let's be fair.
Yeah, I think everyone was sort of playing 100%. Mersa was huge, but twohoyrz was also really performing on the Orianna. I think Spooky, great read on that early pathing where he went to top side to find that punish. We had a win condition laid out for a Go Rogue. They weren't able to meet it, but I think the big thing is it wasn't just our Go Rogue necessarily playing bad. It was SuppUp really stepped up, and there was so many positive plays coming out from them where they were being proactive, they were finding the windows, and they were rewarded for it.
Yeah, well, with that, we are going to throw to a quick break. We'll talk a little bit more about that game after this and what the consequences are, so we will see you in a second.
Another night on my own in a lonely city. Thought I'd cry when you left, but it hasn't hit me. No, I know that you'll be with her, but it doesn't even hurt, 'cause I like it better when my bed's empty. Ooh, I'm not even thinking about you. Got too many fun things I can do. I don't need your help, 'cause I know how.
Hello everybody and welcome back to the European Masters. We're coming fresh off a SuppUp win and a very needed one for them to keep their hopes alive of making it into the playoffs. Orcs, we said for, a go rogue with their comp needed to get ahead early and they just didn't. They got completely rolled early and the game just fell apart from there.
Yeah, I mean, the big thing was the advantage they had on the map was in the bot lane. We're looking at and Pyrka, and SuppUp, they leant towards the top side in the early plays, and then they were able to translate that pressure bot. The Varus and the Tahm consistently pushed up, but they did so when they didn't have the cover, and we had moments like that beautiful TP in with the cannon barrage. And then when it came to team fights, 2 hours on the Orianna was so clean. This would have been a 4-man if not for that flash, but it gets the critical members, and they get absolutely demolished. And from here on out, it just felt like every single fight was in favor of SuppUp. It was not just 2 hours smurfing on the Orianna, but we saw the Alistar play being really stellar for Mersa as well.
Yeah, it was close to them getting the steal, and this ultimately felt like this was where the game started to go very, very wrong for Rogue. Things have been pretty bad, but at this point it was really bad. But a good arrow by LFLICKR was able to pick a kill up, and they did lose their 2 carries off the back of this one.
Yeah, and I think
but ultimately it wasn't enough.
klowny did a great job as well, because even when those 2 carriers were going down, because obviously Go Rogue were trying to target them, the Gangplank would come in and just fulfill that role, able to do a ton of damage in these team fights. And this was beautiful play from Mersa, wanted to go even deeper after already getting those initial kills, able to take out LFLICKR, and it felt like there just wasn't any room to breathe. You can see the gold graph. It's an absolute mountain that was just climbed by the side of SuppUp, and there was no reprieve.
I mean, you were highlighting how klowny kind of took the mantle of carry when VZZ in 2 hours went down 26.6 thousand damage. Did 6,000 damage in the next highest damage dealing person in the game, which was LFLICKR. Really, really good stuff from SuppUp, and it was very much needed. And what this means is there's a lot of scenarios where we still do have tiebreakers, but there's one where we don't. So if Misfits win the next game and G2 win the game after that, then we have a chance for, well, we don't have a chance for tiebreakers. At that point, there are no tiebreakers. I believe it is then, well, we know that it's going to be Misfits Premier. I completely had a brain fart on who was first in the group there. Misfits Premier taking first in the group, and then SuppUp, I believe, because of the head-to-head, take second.
Yeah, so it wouldn't be because of the head-to-head there. It would be because...
they have more, yes.
Yeah, more wins. That's how it works. The team with more wins goes through.
True.
But there's 4 scenarios left, obviously, with only 2 games. All of them, SuppUp at least gets to contest that. So they can either have second guaranteed in one scenario, or there's 3 where they get to play a tiebreaker. So very good for them. They've secured at least a chance going forward. But now we're looking at a Go Rogue, and we're looking at G2 Arctic and see what they can do. Obviously, our next game, G2 Arctic against Misfits Premier. We've seen Misfits Premier absolutely on fire, but G2 Arctic cannot slow up. They lose this game, their chances are over. And this is kind of a symptom of how rough their first week was, and also how close the group was. Because if Misfits Premier had a really strong week 1 and were just miles ahead, it wouldn't be as difficult. But because every team started this week with 2 wins, G2 Arctic just have to absolutely storm it to have a chance. And this is the big one. You lose this, you're out, and you're against the top team in the group. So pressure is on.
It's very, very hard game. Well, it's a very, very rough game coming up, but we'll see whether or not G2 have what it takes. Coming up after the break, it will be G2 Arctic versus Misfits Premier. See you in a moment.